Hey everybody, Jonathan Scott with Vegas Nonstop, coming to you kind of live from the Composer's Room on Sahara, East Sahara, with two great friends and great colleagues. The first, Artie Butler, an American arranger, composer, songwriter, and session musician. Long career, has been involved in numerous hit records, other recordings, been awarded over 60 gold and platinum records. Pat Caddick, Grammy voting member. Pat's been involved in the LA and Las Vegas music scene for more than 30 years as a player, piano, arranger, orchestrator, producer, and director. And I'm thrilled to have both of you talking to me, who just, says stupid stuff on television and radio. So, I know we're at the Composer's Room, and I know you've got an engagement coming here September 13th and 14th. I had the great pleasure of enjoying your show that you did at the Smith Center. So I was there for that. So I have a little bit of insight onto what your show is going to be like. But for those that are watching, if you could describe what your live show is.
Well, it's about my 60-year, I can't get it out of my mouth, 60-year career of making records, hit records actually, thank God. And I talk about the backstory of how the records were made, and it's actually about the journey of my journey and the audience's journey too, because they know those records. And it's a lot of fun talking about it. The audience just loves the backstories and the interviews with the stars, and it's just a wonderful.
We're gonna get into it in a little deeper dive. But Pat, you guys met how many years ago?
40 years ago.
And how did that come about?
I was 24, and I worked for a gentleman named Don Vincent. Don Vincent was the musical director and conductor for Wayne Newton, and he happened to know
I've heard of him.
Artie. Yeah. So 24, and I got hired as his piano player. Don was his conductor, and the comment that I remember best, fondly, is Don saying to me about Artie, "This is the guy you want to be when you grow up." And I thought that was wonderful.
That's very funny.
Pretty cool. A little backstory on Artie. Artie originally from Brooklyn, New York, and you can stop me anywhere and any of this stuff, because this is right off the computer. Learned to play various instruments, including piano, clarinet, and drums as a child. As a kid, you attended Erasmus Hall High School. At the age of 13, auditioned for Henry Glover of King Records, offered you a contract. As a result, the single Lock, Stock, and Barrel.
That's it.
How does that go?
Not well.
Credited to Arthur Butler, was issued on the Lux label 1957. Yeah, was not successful, it says. I love that it says that in the bio. Early 60s, Artie was working as an assistant in Bell Sound Studios in New York. Met songwriters and record producers, a couple of guys you may have heard of, Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller.
Yeah, the best.
Were you walking in the hallway? How did you meet?
No, I was a button pusher. We called it then. Now they call it a second engineer. But I used to start the tape machines because they weren't automatic. And you go, take two, I push the buttons, hence a button pusher. And they were the biggest clients at Bell Sound. They were recording everybody, the Drifters, the Coasters, Benny King, Elvis Presley, etc., etc. So they were at Bell Sound all the time. So they got to know me, and one day they had a big orchestra session, and the piano player was one of the best. He was one of the best piano players, but he was miscast. He should not have been on that session. And they kept going over it and over it and over it, and finally, I just couldn't take it anymore, and I finally said, I can play it, and I go back in my corner. You're not supposed to talk to the clients. I go, I can play it. And I sucked back into my corner, and the engineer turned around and gave me that look, because you're not supposed to go play. And finally they turned around and they said, Artie, you can play it? I said, yeah. They said, we'll give you a chance after the session. So after the musicians go home. So after they gave me a chance to play it, and they gave me the thumbs up, and they said, wait a minute, I can also play the blues, and I played the funky blues. And I came back in and I said, what do you think? I played, and they said, quit your job, come work for us.
Just like that.
And I just stood there. I couldn't hear it. I didn't say, the molecules of the air changed. I couldn't hear a thing. Quit your job, come work for us. You have a hearing deficiency. I said, no, I just want to hear you say it again. And then I went to work for them. I trained the next guy to take my place, because that's the right thing to do. And I went to work for them in the famous grill building. And the first day I went to work for them, I stood in front of those famous gold doors, bronze doors, and I honestly, I stood in front of the building and I said, last week I delivered tapes to you. Now I'm going to have a career inside of you. I said, so be kind to me, because I'm going to become part of your history. That's what I said to the building. And I walked inside those doors, and like a dream, here I am with you two guys. It seems like, not yesterday, but it seems like 5 years, 10 years, and here I am.
Now, I invited Pat also because one of the artists that you have in common blows me away, that you both worked with Barbra Streisand.
I did.
So Pat, if you could indulge us a little bit on your experience. I know you've told me the story before.
1986, I went to the Village Recorder to do 3 or 4 days of recording sessions. And at the time, I had been in LA about a year, you know, and
How old are you at this point?
26 or 7. And Artie and I were talking earlier about guys who are the real deal. You can play, you can read, you can write, you can record, you learn to do all these things because that becomes job security. Well, to that point, I go to the Village Recorder to do in LA, West LA, to do 3-4 days of sessions. And while I'm there, the guy who runs the studio, his name is Michael Geller, says, you have any experience with synthesizers? I said, yeah. He goes, like what? I said, anything, any synthesizer. And when I worked for Wayne bought a Synclavier, and I trained on it. So I learned it inside out. Well, I had one at the Village Recorder, but nobody knew how to use it. I went, I know how to. One thing led to another, and I ended up working on and off for her for 2 years. I did playing, I did programming, I went up to the house and recorded piano. She had the CD piano that recorded music. So it was quite an experience for me, especially as a kid.
And Here's to Life was the song that you wrote, but recorded originally with Peggy Lee?
No.
No.
Shirley Horn
Oh,
made the record.
okay, we're gonna need to change this on the computer.
Okay. Well, I wrote the song with a wonderful lyric writer, I gave it to Peggy, and the first person I gave it to was Joe Williams.
The great Joe Williams.
You know, and I gave it to him here. I was conducting for Suzanne Summers. Phil Smolinelli, by the way, was the lyric writer. She did a great work. I played it for Joe between shows here. I was conducting for Suzanne Summers, and he started weeping. And he said, play it again. And he put his knee up on the piano bench behind me as I was playing. And as I was playing, I felt something hit my shoulder. I didn't know what it was. And it kept hitting my shoulder. I thought he was tapping. There were tears coming out of his eyes. He was a big guy. And he was looking over there were tears coming out of my shoulder. And he puts his hand on my shoulder after I finish. And he takes the sheet music off the piano. And he says, I'm doing the Carson show in 2 weeks. Let's do it, just you and I.
That would be Johnny Carson.
Yes.
Johnny Carson, right. Ethel Carson. Johnny, I'm doing
For
the
you
Carson.
kids at home, Johnny Carson.
Right. He is so right.
I know.
I'm doing the Carson show in 2 weeks. Let's do it, just the two of us. Nice and intimate. And so we did it. Johnny and the audience just went nuts. And NBC over the next couple of weeks got hundreds and hundreds of calls about the song. And one of the people that heard the song was the great jazz singer and pianist Shirley Horn. And she was doing an album with the great Johnny Mandel. And she wanted to include the song, so she recorded it. 17 years later, this is the God's honest truth, this is in my show that I'm doing. 17 years later, I'm sitting in a Carnegie Deli, I get a call from Columbia Records that Barbara Streisand's recording the song. So the journey of a song goes many different ways. And that's how Barbara got the song. Now, I knew Barbara. I went to Erasmus High School in Brooklyn with her. I did What's Up Doc, I did For Pete's Sake, the movies, and I did other things with her. But how she got to Here's to Life, this is how she got it. She got it because she loved the Shirley Horn record. That's how Barbara.
17 years later.
17 years, I'm sitting in a Carnegie Deli. It's the God's honest truth. Eating a corned beef sandwich the size of Shaquille O'Neal.
We can't find a good pastrami here in Las Vegas. Pat and I are on a quest.
Yeah,
The struggle is real.
I'll send you one.
Let's talk about some of the other songs. Leader of the Pack. I mean, it couldn't be further on the spectrum.
Yeah.
From Here's to Life at Leader of the Pack.
I was born in the right time, the right place. I love everything from Rachmaninoff to Little Richard and everything in between. All it has to be is good. Unfortunately, the same thing with food. All it has to be.
Pastrami or corned beef, it's fine.
No, one more thing I have to add. It has to be good and it has to be available. Yeah.
Okay, so in '67 you moved to LA.
Right.
You started working for A&M Records. I'm guessing that Herb Alpert may have had something.
No, I didn't work for A&M Records. No, I did.
Oh.
I did a lot of projects at their studio. The producers I worked for liked to record there.
Herbie Hancock? Is that on target?
No, that's not correct. No.
Thank you, Wikipedia.
Yeah.
That's what I love Wikipedia, because it's never right.
Right.
That's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
It's never right.
Artie, I canceled my Wikipedia page because of all the inaccuracies.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Now, Feeling All Right, were you involved with this song, or is this more Bobo Lights here?
No, that's not Bobo. I was really involved with it. I was hired by a producer, and the meeting was at A&M, and to meet with Joe Cocker, and the song was Feeling All Right. It had been recorded before.
Dave Mason was a big hit for Dave Mason.
Right, and but the record was completely different. It was kind of slow and lame, actually, and they said, we don't want it anything like this. We want it funky, and we know you're the guy to do it. You can do it. That's why you're here. That's what they told me. So that's what your assignment is, to make a record of this and make it funky. So I said, okay, I got it. So I walked out of the meeting with Joe Cocker, the two of us. Across the street from A&M at the time, there was a hamburger joint. And Joe and I went to the hamburger joint. And Joe called me mate. He says, mate, you gotta make it funky. Put his arm on you. Make it funky, man. You're the guy, mate. You're the guy. And I had a double cheeseburger, and he had a double cheeseburger. By the time I put my mustard and whatever on, he
See, with Jews, it's always about the food. It's always a food somehow connected to this.
And I had a Great Dane at the time that ate like that, but I'm still eating it, and Joe was gone. Yeah. Gone. He called me every other day. You got it yet? I said, Joe, it's inside. I'm processing it, but I have to. It's not like a switch. You turn it on. I'll get it. I'm sitting I'm in a supermarket. I'm in a supermarket when it hit me, like a comet. It just came to me, and I got the piano figure. I used to carry what we call an inspiration pad, which is a piece of sheet music on an index card, and I had a little tape recorder. I go, and I wrote it down, and I sang it in the tape recorder. I called my answer machine at home, and I went, and the time I got it home, and I played it, and I called the producer. I said, I got it. Call Carol Kay on bass, the great Paul Humphrey on drums. Get me a conga player. That's all I need. Piano, bass, and drums. That's it. That's the record. and get me a good conga player who understands where to play and where to lay out. I don't want it full of decisiones. I want a good groove conga player. And that was the whole record. We set up the studio, recording. I played my piano figure for the bass player and the drummer, and there were grins from ear to ear. We only made about 2 takes, I think. I don't remember. And I'm telling you, it was like an 18-wheel semi coming at it. You couldn't stop it. It was so powerful. It happened so rarely in the studios. You'll know. It happens so rarely when it's that powerful. You couldn't stop it. And who knew, 50 some odd years later, it would be the record that it's become. I get letters, emails. Hey man, are you a brother?
Are you a brother? And that song has never made any sense to me.
No, I'm an
The
anteater.
lyric.
No, I'm an anteater.
I'm a brother from another mother.
Yeah.
Feeling all right, not feeling too bad myself, or not feeling too good
You know
myself.
what? It doesn't matter. And it makes me all these years want to get up and dance, and you don't want to see that. You don't want to see that.
As a kid, listening to that, and that was consequential because it made me as a youngin, realize what I didn't know. Not only that, I had dinner with Mike McDonald in December this year. One of the songs
You
we
call
talked
him Mike.
about,
Everybody else knows him as Michael McDonald.
yeah. One of the songs we talked about was Feeling All Right.
Really?
Absolutely. And if you listen to his records, you hear the influence of what Artie did on that record, that you have no idea when you're doing it.
No, of course
That
not.
it's going out into the musical universe and it's impressing people who are then going, I have an idea based on that idea. I could play you the Michael McDonald records that he would openly admit were influenced by that setup.
And I love that the simple direction was make it funky.
Right.
Yeah, you know, and the thing is, I am fascinated, and I can't take credit for it. It came to me in the supermarket.
Again, food.
Right.
I wasn't. Yeah, that's funny. I've been walking around thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. It just hit me.
Do you still carry the inspiration pad?
No. These little index cards with music. And look, I did it. I take the credit for it because it was me. I'm thankful it was me. But I feel like I was a vessel that it came to me, and I had a musical catcher's mitt, like Yogi Berra, you know. But it comes from your childhood. It comes from unrequited love. It comes from your mother saying, "Don't eat that." Again, the food. It comes from not, you know, not studying your Hebrew lessons. It comes from all the things in your childhood, from the girls that turned you down. It comes from all the whatever makes you. Also from your musical sensibility, your ability to be able to play that. You have to think that. You have to be able to. It goes from, I'm talking very big. You go to a 1 chord to a 4 chord, but you go to it, you slide it in a certain way. You don't just go, here's the 1 chord, you slide it and you kind of keep the 4 chord there. And it's a very sophisticated, simple structure, but it's its own version of that. It's never been done before or since. And guys try and play it. It's a genuine copy of a fake Dior.
Well, Pat knows a little something about getting make funky because Pat produces Tower of Power.
Right, he just told me.
I don't know if it gets any funkier than Tower of Power.
No, I was very impressed with it.
And I was when I first saw them, I was 17 years old.
Yeah,
And I
unbelievable.
didn't know what I was listening to.
Of course, all
what
of
the
us.
hell is that? I have no idea.
All of us.
You know, and you know, over many, many years, we've spent a lot of time together. In fact, I'm working on doing another record for David Garibaldi, who now has left Tower of Power. So when he comes back, middle of September, we're going to start mapping that out. To me, this is living what I dreamed as a kid.
Oh, that's wonderful.
You know.
Which I have a question. It's not really music related, but the topic is longevity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you both have had long career. We all have had doing something for more than 40 years, and people ask me, and I'm sure are you going to retire? From what?
And do what? Work in a hardware store?
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, so keeping busy, but what you know, for tips that people want to live to be 100. There's a show on now called The Blue Zone. Talks about longevity. People in Okinawa have, for some reason, they live more than 100 years old, more than any other place in the world in Okinawa. In Sardinia, just by Sicily, they live more than 100 years old because
Right.
they walk everywhere. What would you attribute your longevity to?
Well, I first of all, I stopped smoking in 1967. I believe that was a smart thing. I lost 90 pounds. I was 248 pounds at my fighting weight. I got on a small scale before I came. I was 161 pounds. I believe I wouldn't be here if I didn't lose the weight. The other thing is, I basically lived a clean life, other than pasta and pizza. I never met a pizza I didn't want to sleep with.
That's good.
I mean, hello, darling, you want to dance? You know,
I'm from Chicago. You don't have to sell me a
yeah,
pizza.
yeah, you know.
So nutrition is important.
Geno's.
Geno's East.
Yeah, and my favorite steakhouse was there.
Gibson's.
No, under the L. I went there with Peggy Lee. They opened up. We worked there, and after the show, they opened up the place for us. It was under the L. Oh my God, I can't. I'm blanking on.
By Zetti's on Irving Park.
No. Oh my God.
Under the L.
Oh
I
my
don't know.
God.
There's so many.
Gino
steak-
Giorgetti's.
Gene and Giorgetti's still open.
Yeah.
Harry
it's-
Carey used to correct me. You know, Gene and Giorgetti's.
Yeah, they opened up, kept the restaurant open for Peggy. And,
Still open.
Yeah, it was great.
Wow.
It still is great.
It was great.
Gene and Giorgetti's still open.
Anyway,
Been
I tackled the food thing and lost 90 pounds because I was the size of a Buick Electra. I mean, I was, you know, I'm a 34 waist now. I was a 48.
Pat, same question. Longevity.
I like to start with, before we came up on stage here to do this, Artie put his hand on my cheek and he said, I can see this in you. Meaning, we're, in a musical sense, I speak for myself, but
Yeah.
I sense it from you. We're 5 years old.
Yeah,
We're
I did do that.
youngsters.
I did do
You
that.
did. You said to me, I can see this in
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Because I'm still trying to get really good at it. Every day I work at it. You know.
I am still that young kid on Flatbush Avenue looking in the music store. It was called Artie's Music Center, believe it or not. Looking at all the instruments, saying, I want to be in that business. I want to be in that business. I do not know how I got here. I never graduated high school.
Really?
I quit high school in my senior year. My father was not thrilled. Believe me, he wasn't thrilled. And I don't know how I got here. You want to wind up here? Sometimes you got to go here, maybe come this. I don't know how I got here. I just got here. And somebody bought me a book on all the instruments and the ranges of the instruments. And I learned the ranges of the instruments, how high, how low you can write. And the rest I did by listening.
So you were self-taught.
Self-taught, and a lot of listening, The rest of the stuff I can't take credit for it because that would be braggadocio, but I had that thing. I call it, talent, okay, but
Well, yeah.
I had the talent, but it's inspiration and perspiration. A lot of guys are, well, I'm spiders, but they don't want to do the work. They're waiting for whoever it is to call them up and say, please join my band, please write a song.
Sure.
It doesn't work like that. You have to walk the walk, talk the talk, smile the mile, whatever rhymes, you know. You got to do all of it. And you also have to be clever enough to figure out your own way to maybe get there. And if you can't open that door, get a guy. Get a carpenter to open that door for you. Get someone. Get there. It's a great business and it's changing all the time. But sometimes you can change the business. That's what's wonderful about it.
Well, I have a mantra which is allow yourself to be happy.
Oh, that's a good one.
We have choices every day. Happy, sad, happy, sad.
Yeah.
But on longevity, I'm going to take it one step further and talk about brain health. As you get older, what do you do? I watch Jeopardy every day. That's my thing to try and stay sharp. But I do notice my memory is not what it was.
Well,
But sometimes somebody's name, I'll really work at it. And but what do you?
It's an organ in your body, and you know, look, this is a machine. It's a car, you know, and things, you know. So stay busy, staying active, and I don't know that you have to, you know, schlep a basket. What do they call those medicine balls? Those big 50-pound balls for a mile here, a mile. I don't know that you have to do, but you got to stay active. I don't play Wordle. My wife plays Wordle. Is that what it's called? Wordle.
There's
My
Wordle
wife,
and friends, words with friends.
My wife plays all of that. I stay active, writing my show, writing songs, writing music. I listen to Rachmaninoff's Second Piano Concerto, and I just bathe. It's like the finest soap. And when I hear that music, I just take some of it and just swoosh it on my face. It's just put a little here. It's just gorgeous, and I stay active in that, and I cry when I hear it. And sometimes I hear the Count Basie band, and sometimes I hear Little Richard. And sometimes I love Benny Goodman. Oh my God, I love Benny Goodman, and I love it all. And I stay active in it because I bathe in that moment, whatever it is.
Well, I love the storytelling, Pat. I know you got a Count Basie story, and I hear Count Basie. I want to hear the story.
Oh.
I want them to hear the story.
More than 40 years ago, I was a kid working at Caesar's Palace on the barge, and in the showroom, I'm working Cleopatra's barge. In the showroom is Sammy Davis
For
Jr.
you kids at home,
Sammy Davis Jr., right? With the Count Basie Orchestra, with the old man.
With Sonny Payne and all the guys?
Yep. That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
42 years ago. Singer, trying to remember his last name. First name was Dennis. Would come and sit in with my band. And he'd go.
Kenny Dennis?
Dennis was his first name. And he would come in and say, you should come and see us. Okay. You got a tux on, you can go anywhere. I walk in the back and I'm standing there. I get to meet Count Basie, which I didn't know how to speak
That's
anymore.
royalty. That's
Right,
royalty.
absolutely. And he says, I'm gonna come and see you perform. And I'm like, that's awful nice of him to say that, but I don't know that that's gonna happen. About 3 or 4 days later, he's in the hover-round looking cart, the red cart, coming across the casino with the captain's hat on, comes up the ramp, comes onto the dance floor, and I'm flabbergasted, and I say, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only great Count Basie. Everybody stands up. He wheels to the stage. He goes, give me a mic. Okay. I hand him a mic. He said, first of all, you don't call me Cal, you call me Bill, because we're friends. And that was the beginning of a friendship. We'd go to the piano in the showroom and he'd show me little things, and I would literally, the hair on my arms would stand up.
I got goosebumps.
Yeah,
Look,
me
that's
too.
wonderful.
Me too.
That's
And
wonderful.
he, when we parted company, I never saw him again.
That's beautiful.
But that,
But he would invite you up to the suite also.
right, was
That's phenomenal.
just a,
When someone that big that's just fantastic.
yeah. And I cried,
I love it.
cried,
I love
cried,
it.
cried.
You keep that all your life.
I do.
I got a Count Basie story for you.
Yeah, come on.
I was this button pusher at Bell Sound. So I just told this to somebody. Maybe Debbie. I told Debbie.
Shout out, by the way, to our friends Alan and Kathy Glist, who are working with Artie and producing the show.
Producing the
Right.
show. Yes.
Thank you for that.
And Debbie is part of our team. She drove me.
Debbie
I think
Luce.
Debbie Luce. And when I was a button pusher at Bell Sound and setting up the studios, sometimes I'd set up the studios early so I could have an hour to myself before the sessions. And the musicians who were on the sessions would bring their instruments in early so they can grab lunch before the sessions. So one of the great musicians of all time was the bassist Milt Hinton,
Yeah.
who was the granddaddy of the jazz bassists.
Mm-hmm.
So he would bring his bass in a lot of times, and this one day he brought his bass in, I was playing the piano. And he stood there and he says, Artie, because we all knew each other, he says, man, you can play. What, he was 16 years old? I said, yeah, he says, you can play that left-hand stride. He says, he says, and you're funky, you can play. He says, how'd you like to meet Count Basie? I said, Milt, you're kidding. How about Sunday, 1 o'clock, 12, whatever it was? I said, great. He said, let me write down my home address. He lived in St. Albans, Queens. 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock, whatever it was, brunch, you come to my house. And he says, you live in Brooklyn, right? He said, yeah. You take the GG train, it was called. And he gave me the subway station to get off at. And you get off and he gave me the directions to walk to his house. So I went to the train master at my station in Brooklyn. How long will it take to get in there? And he told me, and so anyway, I get to Milt's house 20 minutes early, because that's always, it's a downbeat, isn't it?
Of course.
That's a downbeat when you gotta, and I ring the doorbell, and this woman answers, and she says, you must be Artie. I said, you must be Mona, Milt's wife. She says, I am. She says, you here to meet Count Basie? 16 years old. I said, you bet. Wide-eyed. She says, well, come on, but let me give you a little advice first. I said, what? She said, she looks down, she says, if I were you, Artie, I would tuck your shirt tail in your fly. I went all the way from Brooklyn with my shirt tail sticking out of my fly. I had no idea. Because you can't meet royalty like Count Basie with your shirt tail sticking out.
With your schmeckle sticking out.
Yeah.
Now you both have worked on movie scoring. How is that different than making records?
Well, it's a different media. Say this is a person walking, and it takes 5 seconds for him to walk, and then he bumps into a wall. So you have to time the amount of things, and then equate it to music, okay? And then you got to go okay? That's metrical. It's not based on emotion, but the art of it is making it sound emotional, so that when the audience sees it and hears it, it doesn't sound metrical. Do you understand? When you're just playing and grooving, you just play it like you feel it.
Right.
You don't care what time. Also, if a horse falls off and jumps off a cliff into the water, you gotta get the horse. Now, do you catch the beginning of the mouth of the horse or the tail? But it's metrical. So you write music. That's metrical. It's 16 counts of dun, 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 and it's 8 counts of, and then it's a big boom. That's metrical. That's different kinds of music. When you're writing music, I never saw my woman go without. You're just writing music to a feel. So it's metrical, and then it's theatrical. It's different than just writing groove music.
Pat, same question.
There was a book, I'm trying to remember the name of it, this is a long time ago, where it would tell you quarter note equals 120, 130.
Oh, we all bought the book.
Right, and if you need 17 seconds of music,
Right.
it'll tell you,
How many
okay,
beats.
right,
Right.
at this tempo, you need 6 beats and 3/8 notes.
Right.
And so now you have to take that metrical and you have to make it musical and emotional.
And not sound metrical.
Right,
That's
exactly.
the art.
Right.
Not making it sound metrical. Because music is mathematical. It's 4/4, and you need 4 bars. That's 16 notes. It's mathematical. But the art is not making it sound metrical.
Can I tell you a joke?
Oh, please.
Fat Tony and the boys go to see a band play. You know the joke, I've told you this joke before. And one of the henchmen goes up to the piano player and says, Fat Tony would like to sing with the band. We're professional, we don't let people just walk up and sing with the band. We'll give you $1,000. $1,000? All right, send Fat Tony over. Fat Tony goes to the piano player says, what do you want to hear? What do you want to play? He says, give me something in a 5/4 time. A 5/4 time? What are you going to play in a 5/4 time? The shadow of your fucking smile. That'll get bleeped out.
I got a great story Jack Jones told me. Jack Jones told me 30 years ago.
For you kids at home, Love Boat.
Jack Jones told me this story. When he was starting out, he played at a place in Brooklyn. I don't remember the name of it, but it was something like Vito's Knuckles, Clam Bar and Knuckles. you get the.
Yeah.
So he went for a sound check in the afternoon, and the piano, if a piano is out of tune, but it's all in the same pitch, you can perform. If it's all relative,
Close to being in tune.
Right.
but it's all within itself.
It's under-pitched, but it's relative. It all is under-pitched together.
If it's
Oh,
all
okay.
together, you can do it. So he goes, but no 2 octaves were the same. Like this was a quarter tone flat, this was a half a tone flat, this was a quarter tone flat. So he says to Vito Knuckles, hey Vito Knuckles, I can't perform. I can't go on tonight. So what do you mean you can't go on tonight? Hey, kid, I got 175 chicken parmesans and 80 whatever.
Yeah, lasagnas.
Lasagnas. He says, he's going on tonight. You know what I'm talking about? He says, I can't go on. This is the worst piano I ever saw. So what do you mean? The worst piano you ever saw? I just had it painted.
Yeah, just had it painted.
Yeah.
Some of the songs, Laughter in the Rain, Barry Manilow's Copacabana, Stop Me at Any Time, Dionne Warwick's I'll Never Love This Way Again, which is, I think, she closes the show with this, with that song. Here's to Life we talked about, the movies, The Love Machine, Rafferty and the Goldust, Disney films, The Rescuers. I have to ask you about the CBS miniseries Sinatra. Anybody come up to you and say, hey Artie, you gotta make Frank look good?
No, I was recommended by Quincy Jones to the Sinatra family.
For you kids at home, you know who Quincy Jones is. Rashida's dad.
So Quincy recommended me to Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers hired me. And I worked for Tina. Tina was my boss for a year. I had a crush on her.
How could you not?
I said, Tina, after this is over, I'm taking you to dinner. She had a big horse head in her office. It was huge.
Like The Godfather.
Yeah, exactly. She had a huge horse. I said, I'm taking you to dinner because I have the biggest crush on you. And she grabbed me, like in the movies. And she said, grabbed me by the collar. She said, I'm going to go. I said, great. We never went out, though.
Oh.
We never went out.
I met Tina Sinatra when Mattel came out with the Barbie doll, Barbie Loves Frankie.
Oh,
And I never knew how many people watch Entertainment Tonight till I was on it with Tina Sinatra signing the dolls. And I was wearing an orange tie, and she said, oh, my dad loved the orange. That was his favorite color.
and we recorded all the pre-records for the Sinatra movie in my house. I have a very complete MIDI studio in my house. And we took the old 78 records from his early records, and we put them on one track of a tape. And then I put a click track or a tempo for those who don't know,
Right.
exactly to the old 78 records. And then I recreated the arrangements of those old 78 records exactly like the old records. And then I re-recorded a new band, just like the old band, playing in sync with the old Frank Sinatra voice. Because when we made the movie, we had a young actor playing Sinatra. We couldn't have that old record, crickety record. So it had to have a new, fresh sounding orchestra. And then we EQ'd, or treble bass, for that people don't know what I'm talking about, so that the track with the old record, so that the voice popped out. So that the voice was down. And we got Tina found a young Australian actor. Everybody imitates Sinatra in the 50s, 60s, but nobody does him when he was with the Dorsey band. Tina found a young Sinatra in Australia.
Yeah.
His name was Tom something. He sounded just, I'll never smile again. Just like him. And I recreated the group he was with. We did it all in my house. And I'm telling you, it sounded just like the record. And Tina said that when Frank heard it, he couldn't believe it. She says, how did you get the audio to sound so good? And she said, we did it with Artie. We recorded it all over again. He couldn't believe it. Because it sounded like the record was made last week. We did that with all the old songs. They were all recreated, all the orchestration, click track, EQ, with this guy from Australia.
That's amazing.
I took an ad out in the paper here, wanted a young Sinatra voice from the Dorsey days. And nobody could answer the ad. Everybody, come fly with me, come fly. But
Right.
anyway,
The older Frank, where his
He
voice
had
really got
The most
huskier.
yeah,
pure, gorgeous voice
absolutely.
in the 40s,
Absolutely.
Frank Sinatra.
Right, but everybody...
It's always overlooked because most people think, like you're saying, Rat Pack,
everybody's doing the same.
or he does this thing and he's at
Right.
Carnegie Hall, and
Right.
people get all of that.
Right.
But they didn't get him when he was
Right,
relatively a baby
right.
in the early 40s. He was with a group called Sandpipers.
No, I also had to do the vocal group, the Jersey Four, or the Hoboken Four.
Hoboken Four, yeah.
Hoboken Four. I had to recreate that a cappella song, and I got three guys, and this kid from Australia to do that song. And it came out so good. It was unbelievable.
I'm gonna have to watch it again.
And Frank couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe it. They said that when they showed him the movie and he heard it, he says, how'd you make that record sound so good? It's so good.
yeah.
They couldn't believe it.
Skinny D'Amato.
Yes. Yeah.
Frank got his break when he was playing.
And so he played there for scale.
Yeah.
He played that in his club for scale.
Now, Pat started a program at USC in Southern California for 16 years. Pat created a songwriting program for a new generation of songwriters, field composers, and Grammy winners. What advice do you guys have for people that are writing songs now? I mean, with AI, it's a kind of a big topic, but do you still write every day?
Yes, every day. It's the best part of my day. Don't tell my wife. But yeah, I create every day. And it's for the love of what I do. Because for so long, everything that I did was for the purpose of making a living.
Right.
Generating a living, you know. I mean, do I love to play? Yes. Did I love playing as a kid? Yes. I also loved making tremendous money working for Wayne Newton. This was life-changing for me. And then all the people that followed. Well, what I learned was I have to be able to do a lot of things, because just being a piano player without being able to have the recording skills, arranging, orchestrating, without really developing all of those skills. So I went to school, but the vast majority of that stuff I learned out of school by listening.
Osmosis.
Listen to these great records, and you can't get enough of them. You take them in. The songwriting program at USC, what I would do is I would put together a formula for students to be able to understand what had already been done. We could take Artie's work and we could analyze his work. You get what I'm saying?
Sure.
After the fact, we can study his work and say, here's what he did here, and here's what he did here, and here's why this is so brilliant and why it works. And my students would say, so the way you teach us is how you learned. I went, no. So, well, how did you? I went, I don't know. I don't have a formula. I listened, and something occurred to me, and then I made that evident. It's weird, because where does it come from? I have no idea. I
Wow.
sit, I bore myself, I wait for the ghost to appear.
Right.
And some days it appears, some days it doesn't, but I'm back the next day.
Yeah, it's a I can't think of the word now. It's not a girlfriend. It's when you're married. It's a mistress. It's a mistress.
Well, I like the inspiration book.
It's a gumad.
Yeah, it's a gumara.
Yeah. Well, is the show called Here's to Life? It should be called Here's to Life.
My show is called Just for the Record.
Just for the record.
I love it.
And it's September 13th and 14th here at the Composers Room on Sahara.
Right.
And hopefully we have a little time.
Produced by List.
Alan and Kathy Glist, our dear friends. We have a little time to play the piano a little bit.
Sure. What would you like to hear? Would you like to hear Here's the Life?
Yeah, I'm gonna hear Here's to Life.
You got it.
Artie Butler. We're gonna take the camera and just move it on over, because that's how we do it.